Good morning, boys and girls. I'm Miss Lydia from the Boston Library. Thank you so much for joining me for story time this morning. Today, we are going to be talking about some nursery rhymes and fairy tales. So we're going to start with a couple of well-known nursery rhymes from this collection by Debbie Glory. We're starting with Little Bo Peep. Little Bo Peep has lost her sheep and can't tell where to find them. Leave them alone and they'll come home, bringing their tails behind them. Little Bo Peep fell fast asleep and dreamt she heard them bleating. When she awoke, she found it was a joke. They were all still a-fleeting. Then up she took her little crook, determined for to find them. She found them indeed, but it made her heart bleed, for they'd left all their tails behind them. It happened one day, as Bo Peep did stray, into a meadow hard by. There she espied their tails side by side, all hung on a tree to dry. She heaved a sigh and wiped her eye, and over the hillocks she raced, and tried what she could, as a shepherdess should, that each tail be properly placed. Here's a couple of short nursery rhymes we should all know. Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet, eating her curds and whey. Along came a spider, who sat down beside her, and frightened Miss Muffet away. How about this one? It's another little song about a spider climbing up the water spout. Do you know this one? The itsy bitsy spider climbed up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain, and the itsy bitsy spider climbed up the spout again. Two more short ones that you should be familiar with. Pat a cake, baker's man. Bake me a cake as fast as you can. Pat it, prick it, and mark it with a B. Put it in the oven for baby and me. How about this one? It's another little song about hot cross buns, 1 a penny, 2 a penny, hot cross buns. If you have no daughters, give them to your sons. 1 a penny, 2 a penny, hot cross buns. Next, we're going to read the story of Goldilocks and the 3 bears. Once there were 3 bears, a father bear, a mother bear, and a baby bear. One morning, Mother Bear made the porridge for breakfast as usual. The porridge is exceedingly hot this morning, said Mother Bear. Let us go for a stroll in the wood while it cools, said Father Bear. There was someone else walking in the wood that morning, a little girl with long golden hair called Goldilocks. She could smell the beautiful aroma of the porridge, and she followed it, her nose twitching until she came to the open window of the bear's house. When she saw the 3 bowls of steaming porridge on the table, they made her feel so hungry, she climbed in through the window without so much as a "Please, may I?" "I think I'll try some of that," she said, and she tried the porridge in the large bowl first. It was so hot that it burned her tongue. "Ouch," she said, and dropped the spoon. The porridge in the middle bowl was far too sweet. "Ugh," she said, and dropped the spoon too. The porridge in the small bowl was just the way she liked it. "Oh, lovely," she said, and ate it all up. When the small bowl was quite empty, she walked around the house, opening cupboards and looking at this and looking at that, and trying everything she could. She sat on Father Bear's big chair. "Oh no," she said, "this is much too hard." She sat on Mother Bear's middle-sized chair. "Oh no," she said, "this is much too soft." And she sat on Baby Bear's chair. "Oh, lovely," she said, "this is so comfortable." But she wriggled and fidgeted about so much that one of the legs snapped in 2, and she fell to the floor. She picked herself up and went into the bear's bedroom. She tried Father Bear's big bed. "Oh no," she said, "this is much too bumpy." She tried Mother Bear's middle-sized bed. "Oh no," she said, "this is much too squishy." And she tried Baby Bear's small bed. "Oh, lovely," she said. "This is so comfortable." And she fell fast asleep with her head on Baby Bear's pillow. When the bears got home, they could tell at once that someone had been inside their house. "Who has been eating my porridge?" growled Father Bear. "Who has been eating my porridge?" growled Mother Bear. "And who has been eating my porridge and finished it all up?" squeaked Baby Bear. "Who has been sitting on my chair?" growled Father Bear. "Who has been sitting on my chair?" growled Mother Bear. "And who has been sitting on my chair and broken it?" squeaked Baby Bear, and he burst into tears. "Who has been lying on my bed?" growled Father Bear. "Who has been lying on my bed?" growled Mother Bear. "Someone has been lying on my bed, and she's still there," squeaked Baby Bear. "Look!" Goldilocks opened her eyes and sat up. When she saw the three bears staring at her, she jumped off the bed and out through the window so quickly the bears were taken by surprise. The bears didn't bother to chase after her. She looked so frightened they knew that she had learned her lesson and would never go uninvited into someone else's house again. Instead, Mother Bear made some more porridge for Baby Bear. Father Bear mended his chair, and then they all sat down and had breakfast. Our next tale is called A Singing Lesson. Fred Frog had a deep baritone voice, and he liked to sing. "Please sing me a song, Fred," Freda Frog would say. Fred would first find a place to sit, and he would wobble his chin and serenade her with the croakiest of croaks. "Oh, Fred, that is beautiful," Freda would say, her own voice full of admiration. Whereupon Fred would swell up with pride and wobble his chin harder and sing louder and longer and hardly stop to take a breath at all. But though Freda liked to hear Fred sing, there were those who thought his voice sounded like a rusty old hinge on a broken down door. One day, when Fred was singing, Reggie Reed Warbler called, "Hey Fred, where's your oil can?" "I should take some singing lessons if I were you," called Wally Wagtail. "We can't hear ourselves sing with that racket going on," called the curlews. See all the birds making fun of him? "You sound like a cornflake with a sore throat," said the meadow pipit. Underneath part of Fred's chin stopped wobbling, and his lips started to wobble instead. His feelings were hurt. "Take no notice," said Freda. "They only say those things because they are jealous of your beautiful voice." "Jealous of his voice?" laughed the birds. "We have such beautiful voices of our own. Don't be silly. Now, boys, let's show those frogs what real singing is all about." And the birds whistled and sang and filled the sky and the wind with beautiful sounds that only birds can make. Poor Fred. A tear rolled down his cheek. He slid noiselessly into the water and hid in the mud on the bottom of the pond. "Please don't cry," said Freda, as she sidled up into the mud beside him. "Your voice is the most beautiful voice in the world to me." "If only I could sing like a bird," sighed Fred. "If only I could whistle and trill." And no matter what Freda said, Fred would not come out of the mud. "Where's Fred?" asked Reggie Reed Warbler next morning. "You have hurt his feelings because you laughed at him," said Freda. "You have made him ashamed of his own voice, and now he wishes he could sing like you." Reggie Reed Warbler thought for a moment. The birds hadn't meant to be unkind to Fred. "If he wants to sing like a bird, then we will teach him," he said. "Go and fetch him, Freda." Freda really did prefer Fred's voice to the way it was, but she went and got him all the same, because she knew that was what Fred would have wanted. Fred came up and sat beside her on a lily pad and waited for his lesson to begin. The birds sat in the reeds facing him. "This shouldn't take long," said Reggie. Fred concentrated very hard. He really did. First, Reggie showed him how to sing. Then Wally tried, and then all the birds tried. Still, Fred's voice did nothing but croak and creak and groan. No, not like that," said Reggie for the 100th time, as yet another peculiar squeaky croak came from Fred's throat. I'm trying, I really am, said Fred. He is, said Freda. I can tell. You're being stubborn, shouted Reggie at last. You don't want to sing like a bird. But I do, sobbed Fred. His poor green face looked back at him from the water. His tears plopped like pebbles and made his reflection disappear. Tired and exasperated, though the birds were, they began to feel sorry for him. Do cheer up, they said. It's not your fault you can't sing like a bird. It was then that Freda had an idea. I don't suppose, she said, that birds can croak like frogs either. Fred's head jerked up, and his tears stopped. Of course they can, said Reggie. Let's hear you then, said Freda. The birds tried, they really did, but sounds that came out from their throats as they tried to croak like frogs were as strange as the sounds that came from Fred's throat when he tried to sing like a bird. I must admit, said Reggie, that Fred is better at croaking than we are. I told you he had a beautiful voice, said Freda. I suppose he has, for a frog, admitted Reggie. And that was how it ended, for after all, who wants to listen to a bird who croaks like a frog, or a frog who sings like a bird? A frog is a frog, and a bird is a bird. Frogs croak, birds whistle, and that's the way it should be. I hope you enjoyed today's nursery rhymes and fairy tales. We'll be back next week with another story time. Have a wonderful week.